Part 17. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 161. Beginningless. If I were really here, how dare you be so arrogant? The immortal emperor roared angrily, and as his body shook, it seemed a little unreal. The true body is here, yes, this is not the real immortal emperor, but just a wisp of divine thoughts born from the corpse of the immortal emperor. Prince Yuan said to himself, with a clear look in his eyes, as if he knew something. According to old legends, after the death of a peerless being, although the soul is dead, the body is incomparable, and a ray of light may be born from the dead body. Divine thoughts? This ray of divine thoughts is called Shendinian. The real strength of Shendinian is less than that of the main body, and it even only possesses a very small part of the memory and Taoism of the main body. The more kind and brave the main body was during life, the more it is sacred and noble, and the thoughts of the gods born after death will become more evil. Presumably, the so-called immortal emperor in front of you is just a wisp of evil thoughts born from the corpse of the real immortal emperor. The beginningless emperor of the human race, it was this evil thought that was suppressed, not the real immortal emperor. Thinking of this, Prince Yuan's expression became normal. Many other ancient creatures also seemed to know something, and their expressions were no longer ugly and became much more normal. It just suppressed a ray of evil thoughts of the immortal emperor, and it doesn't prove anything. If the real immortal emperor is here, can he be suppressed with just a list of gods? I'm afraid it's not enough. It's not the true body of the immortal emperor, it's just a wisp of evil thoughts born from his body. The creatures of the ancient tribes all breathed a sigh of relief, but their faces were not very pretty. Although this cannot be used to prove anything, after all, the Wuxi great emperor of the human race was enshrined in front of the immortal emperor's coffin. This is a kind of disrespect to the immortal emperor, which is enough to disgrace the ancient clans and make them lose face. Buzz. The list of gods is still shaking, not only suppressing the evil thoughts of the immortal emperor, but also suppressing the coffin of the peerless god. The coffin lid, which had been shaken open at one corner, was gradually closing little by little under the power of the conferred god list. If the coffin lid is completely sealed, this evil thought of the immortal emperor should also disappear without a trace. However, just when the evil thoughts of the immortal emperor were about to be suppressed, a sudden change occurred. Boom! Next to the jade platform, the boundless void is broken, and a waterfall falls from the void. The fairy light is gorgeous, the sky is filled with divine clouds, and the breath of the ancient fairyland is flowing. The aura of fairy spirits filled the air, as if an immortal was coming to this place. It was so magnificent and majestic. This waterfall of flying immortals that suddenly appeared was like a mysterious door leading to the real immortal realm. It was majestic and mysterious to the extreme. Immediately afterwards, Phyxian waterfall trembled, and a hand as warm as jade, holding an ancient heavenly sword, appeared from behind Phyxian waterfall, struggling violently, as if trying to rush out of the world behind the waterfall. It's like coming to this world. But in the end, on the other side of the waterfall, the warm and jade-like hand retreated, only tearing a hole in the Phyxian waterfall, and threw the heavenly knife in his hand over, descending into this world. Immediately, the Phyxian waterfall closed again, and the fairy light filled the air, covering everything. Immediately afterwards, the void returned to calm, and the waterfall of flying immortals across the 9 heavens dissipated in the void, as if it had never appeared before. However, that heavenly sword actually came to this world. The sword is flying across the sky, with a murderous intent. The sword waves are vast, and the blade is simple and natural. It has 5 colors. It is made from the 5 ultimate immortal golds in the world that are mixed together and refined. It is a perfect fusion. The body of the sword is crystal clear, and the energy of the sword is like the sea. It is extremely brilliant and brilliant, shocking the world, like the first ray of divine light before the creation of the world, shaking the eternal starry sky. A heavenly sword emerged from the void? No, he was sent to this world. Behind the Phyxian waterfall is a world that is not in this universe. It is suspected to be a fairyland. This heavenly sword seems to have been recorded on ancient tablets. After the immortal emperor attained enlightenment, he searched the universe, collected 5 types of immortal gold in the world, melted it into a furnace, and forged it into this immortal heavenly sword, which was superior to the emperor's weapons and comparable to the legendary immortal weapon. Who is taking action to send this knife? Could it be the immortal emperor? The creatures of all the ancient tribes were trembling, and their hearts were extremely shocked. A big hand as gentle as jade appeared from the void, and threw the immortal sword into this world from a world away. Who is taking action? There is a huge the probability is that he is the immortal emperor. Yes, it must be the immortal emperor. The immortal emperor is still alive. The emperor is still alive? Then who is buried in this ancient coffin? It is very likely that it is just the remains of the immortal emperor's past life. The ruthless empress of the human race was able to survive 4 lives against the will of heaven, and be buried in the next life after another. The immortal emperor's meritorious deeds are part of the creation, shocking the past and the present. Even after shedding the remains of one life, there are still. Why is it difficult? Yes, that must be the case. The immortal emperor is still alive, and is probably in the legendary fairyland now. The name of the emperor should not be insulted lightly, so he took action across 2 realms. It's just that the 2 realms are different and the chasm is difficult to cross. The emperor threw the immortal sword over, but the true form never came. In just a few words, the creatures of the ancient tribes roughly guessed the ins and outs of everything. As for the owner of the gentle hand, even though he never appeared, only showing one hand, no one doubted his identity other than the immortal emperor himself. Who else is qualified to hold the divine weapon that the immortal emperor created in the past? Moreover, the world behind the Phyxian waterfall is really extraordinary. Even if the 2 realms are separated by a natural chasm, you can still feel the aura of immortal charm. Therefore, the owner of that big hand must be the immortal emperor. The immortal emperor is still alive, but now his true body is suspected to be in the immortal realm, and will exist forever. This is a story that shocked the ages. If the news about Kinkin spreads out after today, it will definitely cause huge waves in the world. And regarding all of this, the mouth was thrown from another world by the immortal emperor, spanning the 9 heavens, swallowing celestial light, extremely bright and gorgeous. The immortal heavenly sword is the best proof that is irrefutable. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 162. According to legend, the Jida imperial weapon, which is made from a variety of Jida immortal materials, has been cultivated to the extreme and can reach a higher level, comparable to the legendary immortal weapons. The immortal heavenly sword is made from 5 peerless immortal materials and is extremely extraordinary. According to the records on the ancient monument, the reputation of this heavenly sword is really great. The heavenly sword means the way of heaven. The immortal emperor forged this weapon. It is an invincible self-confidence. He firmly believes that he is the first in ancient times. There is no opponent in the 9 heavens and 10 places. The sky sword crossed the sky, and the sword energy was like a sea, sweeping through the clouds in all directions, causing the heroes to be shocked. Most of the creatures from the ancient tribes knelt down and worshipped this heavenly sword, with pious and fanatical expressions on their faces, worshipping this immortal miracle. After being sealed for millions of years, he came back to the world, and it was so courageous for someone to treat the emperor's relic like this. The heavenly sword turned towards the direction of the conferred god list. The blade trembled, and a ruthless and indifferent voice came from inside. It is really extraordinary. Different from other Jidao imperial soldiers, the inner god's palace is very awake, like a living statue. Great Emperor, look down upon the world, everyone must bow their heads. The immortal emperor is actually alive, but it seems that his weapons are unaware of the existence of the Emperor Wuxi. Why is this? There were doubts in everyone's eyes. The immortal emperor and the infinite emperor were both supreme beings millions of years ago. Even if they did not live together in the same era, it stands to reason that they should have heard of each other's legendary talents. Yes. The immortal heavenly sword was personally practiced by the immortal emperor. It has followed him for millions of years. It stands to reason that this heavenly sword has witnessed most of the things that the immortal emperor has experienced. But why? Now, listening to the tone of this heavenly sword, it seems that it is completely unaware of the existence of the Wuxi emperor. It's interesting. It was written millions of years ago. I slept with my lord for hundreds of thousands of years and missed a lot. I didn't expect that after my lord, such a strong person would be born in the world. The immortal heavenly sword was confronting the Feng Shen Bang, and seemed to be evaluating each other. The content of its words made everyone feel a little relieved. Millions of years ago, for unknown reasons, the immortal emperor fell into a deep sleep for hundreds of thousands of years. During this period, it has not manifested in the world, and it seems that it happened to miss the time when the Emperor Wuxi came to the world. This led to the fact that these two supreme beings millions of years ago did not know each other. However, the majesty of our Lord cannot be insulted lightly. Even if it is just a corpse, no one can desecrate it. The immortal heavenly sword clanged, and the sound was very cold. It moved, and the blade of the sword bloomed with 5 colors, shining brightly. The sword energy was like a tide, rolling up thousands of sword waves, as if it was going to destroy everything in the world, and was sealed in the ancient coffin. The list of gods in front was chopped off. The sword energy was so vast and powerful that it even broke through the secret world, went straight into the 9 layers of the sky, and rushed into the cold universe. Even so, the place covered by this vast sword energy, even if in the distant universe, the star fields are shattering, turning into cosmic dust and dissipating invisible. This is really a kind of supreme power that makes the heroes tremble and their bodies become cold. It just spontaneously escapes from the heavenly sword. Just the light of the sword turned a star field into nothingness and wiped out everything. If this sword was slashed with all its strength, I am afraid that all 5 regions would be cut into 2. Can the list of gods be blocked? Seeing this scene, everyone in the human race looked worried. The power of the immortal heavenly sword is really too great, like a living master of the imperial way. Although the list of gods is powerful, it is not the imperial weapon held by Emperor Wuxi after all. It's just a divine artifact that he trained. Facing this heavenly sword that was made from 5 kinds of extremely immortal materials and is comparable to an immortal weapon, can the god list be able to stop it? However, unlike everyone's worries, the Black Emperor seemed very confident. Woof! Who is the Emperor Wuxi? Across the ages, he is invincible in both ancient and modern times. The power of the conferred gods list is equivalent to that of Emperor Wuxi suppressing it with one hand. The hand of Emperor Wuxi is completely different from the hand of ordinary ancient emperors. Boom! Faced with the supreme power of the immortal heavenly sword, the list of gods seems to have revived. The ancient golden scroll swayed, as if trying to break free from the ancient coffin, shaking out the overwhelming energy of chaos. Immortal divine light surged out from the list of gods. Each divine light was like a chasm, cutting off the sky and spanning the past and present. Millions of years. Vaguely, there seemed to be a majestic shadow of the beginningless emperor, imprinted in the void, suppressing the 9 heavens and 10 earths, looking down at the world, with a head of black hair dancing wildly, undefeated in his life. This faint shadow of the Wuxi emperor only existed for a moment, and then turned into a giant golden hand that covered the sky and the sun. It condensed the will of the Wuxi emperor and slashed towards the immortal sword. Shoot it! Boom! This was an extremely terrifying collision. The void was annihilated, the sky was shattered, and even the entire secret space was shattered, turning into world fragments and appearing in the human world. At this moment, not only the Eastern Barren Territory, but almost all the creatures in the 5 regions felt the kind of fluctuation that could be called world-destroying. Immortal Heavenly Sword vs Conferred God List. The confrontation between the Immortal Emperor's weapon and the sacred artifact of the Emperor Wuxi. Both contain a little bit of Tao and Dharma from both sides. The collision and duel between these two supreme beings, separated by eternity, is truly astonishing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 163. What happened? Such terrifying fluctuations are so amazing. Oh my god, this kind of fluctuation is like a duel between two supreme beings. I saw. It's a collision and duel between a heavenly sword and a big hand that suppresses the world. All the creatures in the 5 realms trembled, overwhelmed by the supreme divine power. Buzz. The heavenly sword trembled, and its whole body was as bright as snow, illuminating the past, present, and future. The endless sword light was like a sea of stars, impacting the huge golden palm. Nothing could stop it along the way, and everything was destroyed. Even the stars outside the territory were cut down one after another, which was extremely terrifying. And that golden giant hand is also incomparably extraordinary. One hand holds up the sky, and the other hand penetrates the heaven and the earth. It has an invincible trend that spans the past, present, and future. In the end, the sword light, as vast as the sea of stars, struck across the golden giant hand covering the sky, causing an infinite collision. Chaos energy and flying fairy lights danced together, covering everything. It was as if the world was about to be destroyed there. Nothing could be seen, and all one could feel was the aura that made all sentient beings tremble with fear. Although nothing can be detected. But everyone still couldn't help but look there, hoping to know the final result as soon as possible. After all, the Immortal Emperor's divine weapons are stronger. Or is the list of gods personally trained by Emperor Wuxi better? Everyone wants to know the answer. And in the end, when the chaotic energy was shaken away, the answer was finally revealed. The list of gods is still dazzling, intact and sealed on the ancient coffin. The immortal heavenly sword has not been damaged and is still hanging high on the 9th level of the sky. In this attack, the two were evenly matched, and there was no winner. Blocked. Evenly matched, no winner or loser. Oh my god, what a powerful blow. Unable to determine the winner. The heroes were shocked, never expecting such a result. However, Immortal Heavenly Sword was very surprised by this result. There was a hint of dissatisfaction in his still cold voice. Actually blocked it? Who is that? The Immortal Emperor collected immortal gold from all over the world and painstakingly crafted the supreme weapon, which is the ultimate weapon in the world. From ancient times to the present, no supreme divine weapon can compare with it. But now, what is opposite it is just a sacred object that was sacrificed by the human race emperor, and the material is far inferior to it. However, the result of the collision surprised it. The opponent was still undamaged and evenly withstood the blow. Moreover, during this process, the golden ancient scroll was always firmly attached to the coffin, which was equivalent to blocking the blow of the immortal emperor while sealing it away. How could a divine object be so extraordinary? This blow will crush you. The immortal heavenly sword was furious, and was very dissatisfied with the result of this attack. It became even more brilliant, and the divine light surged, shaking the 10,000 realms to roar, and the star fields near the 5 major regions exploded, turning into the universe. Dust. All the creatures in the 5 realms are trembling. Under this extreme divine power, it is useless for monks from any realm to come. Even the quasi-emperor will be cut into ashes in an instant. The secret space of 1,000,000 miles has been completely it was destroyed. The heroes of all ethnic groups who entered the secret realm no longer dared to stay by the Jade platform, for fear of being destroyed by the aftermath of the battle between these two extremely terrifying artifacts. The list of gods was shining, and there were thousands of rays of light, falling down from the ninth heaven. As if reversing time, empty years. The Tao is dancing, thousands of ways are vibrating, and there is an inexplicable power spreading between heaven and earth. It is a supreme Tao that turns all power into nothingness and makes all existence return beginning. It is the way of the great Emperor Wuxi. The Black Emperor shouted excitedly. The conferred gods list was fully revived and moved with all its strength. It actually evolved the Tao and Dharma of the Wuxi Emperor. It was a forbidden secret technique that involved time and space, years and reincarnation, and countless. The taboo is extremely terrifying. The same is true for the immortal heavenly sword, which vibrates endlessly and shoots out rays of fairy light. The sword light shocks the past and present. Each sword light is like a hanging star river, magnificent and vast, tearing the sky and shattering the sky. That is also the way of the immortal emperor. He is supreme, looks down upon the eternity, and is the only one who is supreme. The immortal heavenly sword and the conferred god list both resorted to extreme means to embody the two supreme beings of the past, the infinite emperor and the immortal emperor. Part of the majesty. This is a battle between the ancient emperor and the ancient emperor. It is an alternative contest that spans ancient and modern times. Boom! A shocking collision occurred, flying fairy light and chaotic energy surged, and the divine chains of order shattered one after another. The aftermath of the battle between the two seemed to destroy everything in the world. Even in the void, there were chaotic wind and thunder, and the separation of pure and turbid air seemed to be opening up a world. Everyone couldn't help but tremble. Is this the strength of the Wuxi Emperor and the immortal emperor? It is just the aftermath of the battle, but it has the power to open up the world. Its majesty is simply incomprehensible. The sky was in chaos and nothing could be seen. Only two supreme forces are spreading and fighting. The result of the battle was beyond everyone's expectations. Since the beginning of the evolution of the god list, the peerless sword light that seemed to be able to kill immortals and demons has become extremely fragile, not enough to be seen at all, and was obliterated by the beginningless power involving time and space. In the end, everything in the beginningless way turned into a golden palm that seemed to span the ages. It broke through thousands of sword lights, destroyed everything, and slapped the heavenly sword fiercely. When the immortal heavenly sword flew out horizontally, like a dragon's roar, like a phoenix's cry. All the sword light disappeared, only the immortal heavenly sword that was knocked out kept trembling. And that dazzling golden divine list is still affixed to the ancient coffin where the immortal emperor's remains are buried, and its position has not even moved half an inch. The result of this battle is naturally decided, and the winner is decided. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 164. The list of gods is slightly better. The immortal heavenly sword was repulsed. It is unimaginable that the soldiers commanded by the immortal emperor were defeated. No, strictly speaking, it was not a defeat, it was just a bit inferior. Seeing the result of this battle, all the spirits in the world were shocked to the extreme. Although the immortal heavenly sword is now intact and has not been damaged, it was just repelled and slightly inferior, but in the eyes of the world, it is enough to prove some problems. The immortal heavenly sword is already intact. In the duel between the swords and the list of gods, both have evolved the Tao and Dharma of their respective masters. It is a duel between the Emperor Wuxi and the immortal emperor separated by eternity. Although it cannot prove the level of strength between the two. But today the immortal heavenly sword is here being repulsed during a duel was enough to damage the reputation of the immortal emperor. Woof. This emperor has long said that the conferred god list is suppressed here, which is equivalent to one hand of the Emperor Wuxi. How could the emperor's hand be the same as an ordinary Yakuza being? Witnessing the result of this battle, the Black Emperor said proudly. In its heart, the Wuxi Emperor is an invincible existence, and the current result seems to prove all this. I don't believe that anyone in the world can rival the Emperor. My Lord is supreme, invincible from all ages to the present. The immortal heavenly sword trembled, and its spiritual thoughts were filled with anger and disbelief. It was glowing, as if it had turned into a black hole, swallowing the essence of the 8 desolations, hanging high in the sky, draining away the nearby sea of stars. At this moment, many of the star fields near the 5 major regions were all dim and lightless. All their power was drained and incorporated into the body of the immortal heavenly sword. This was an extremely terrifying scene. The sky was dim and silent, and the 5 major regions were trapped. In the endless darkness, it was like falling into the doomsday. The immortal heavenly sword was angry. It was a weapon forged by the immortal emperor. It looked down upon the world and looked down upon its invincible hand. But now it was crushed in the hands of a divine object forged by a human emperor. This kind of the result was unacceptable to it. Therefore, this time, it mobilized with all its strength and no longer estimated the consequences. It wanted to exert unparalleled power, destroy the list of gods, and rectify the name of the immortal emperor. A hanging across the Milky Way, filling the sky, will be boundless. The sky is covered. It is an endless world-destroying sword light. Each one is enough to kill all the masters in the world, and no one can stop it. Now, the vast sword energy like the Milky Way stretches across the 9 heavens. If it cuts down, not only the east in the desolate domain, I am afraid that the 5 major domains will all be cut into pieces. This power is too great. The 2 sects of gods are really fighting. If they collide this time, no matter whether they win or lose, the 5 major regions will probably suffer. Damn it, what should I do? Sacrifice the imperial soldiers, display the ultimate imperial power, and protect our clan. At this moment, all the spirits in the world were frightened. The immortal heavenly sword became angry. No longer caring about the consequences, it unleashed the power of the extreme path with all its strength. It no longer restrained itself as before. No creature or spirit would be affected by it at this moment. In the eyes, it only needs to risk everything, exert peerless power, and rectify the name of the immortal emperor. However, all the creatures in the 5 realms will be in danger. Even if the conferred god list blocks the blow of the immortal heavenly sword, the 2 will fight. The aftermath was enough to destroy most of the 5 major regions. At this moment, all the royal soldiers of the ancient tribes revived, rushed into the sky, exerted their ultimate divine power, and protected the ancient tribes below, trying to reduce the losses as much as possible. Compared with the human race, it pales in comparison. There is only a void mirror across the sky to protect the people below. However, compared with the huge population base of the human race, the place of protection is really too small, just a drop in the ocean. At this moment, the eastern wasteland, the ancient supreme beings in the restricted areas were all alarmed. They cast their indifferent eyes towards the sky. Their eyes were very cold and they did not express anything. However, the power of the Supreme was flowing, protecting the restricted areas and the eastern wasteland. Part of the land. For these ancient supreme beings, becoming an immortal is the most important thing. Compared with it, everything else in the world is just a passing cloud. Even if the battle between these 2 divine objects shatters all other realms, it has nothing to do with them. Oops, the sword from the sky is flying across the sky, who can stop it? Feeling the heaven-destroying aura, Lingxiu's eyes were anxious and she couldn't help but look into the silent ancient restricted area. The last time she entered the restricted area, although she could not see the ruthless emperor, she knew that the ruthless emperor was in the restricted area. Now, the only one who can turn the tide, save the human beings in the 5 domains, and stop the war with force is the ruthless emperor. Buzz. just when the light of the sword is about to fall down, destroying everything. Silence. The ancient restricted area for a long time was finally no longer peaceful. The lingering fairy mist dispersed, and a black light traveled across the world and rushed into the 9th level of the sky. At this critical moment, the sky-swallowing magic jar revived. Black light penetrated the world, and the sky-swallowing magic jar was trembling violently, and gradually became blurred, and finally turned into the faint figure of the ruthless emperor, standing in the 9 heavens, arrogant in the world. The white-clothed empress transformed from the sky-swallowing magic jar, with dancing black hair, decisive and sharp, with her bare hands folded, she made the shape of holding a treasure vase and pointed it at the immortal heavenly sword. Like a fairy coming to the dust, the wind stirs the world. Between her pair of crystal-clear hands, a treasure vase of Dao appeared, with the Tao Yun Tian Chang. At this moment, immortality, the heavenly sword, shook violently, and suddenly I felt a creepy feeling, as if I was being stared at by a supreme being, and I felt like a disaster was imminent. Boom! The extremely splendid Taoism and divine light spurted out from the Dao Aquarius in the hands of the Empress. It was a vast sea of power, with billions of runes, reaching as far away as the world, dispersing all the sword light in the sky, and even submerged all the immortal swords. Clang! This is the supreme method belonging to the ruthless emperor. It can destroy the dead and destroy the dead. It will fly the sky sword directly and fall into the universe. Moreover, the light on the blade is dimmed to the extreme. At this moment, the sky was clear, all the world-destroying fluctuations were calmed and suppressed, and the 5 domains returned to tranquility. The previous scene seemed as if it had never happened. Everything happened so fast that the creatures in the 5 realms were stunned. The ruthless emperor's sky-swallowing magic jar emerged, destroying all threats with devastating force, and even sent the sky sword flying out, stopping the fight with force. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 165. The heavenly sword flew out horizontally, and the blade became extremely dim for a moment. But compared to this, the shame of being blown away by a single blow made it difficult to accept. How can it be? The immortal heavenly sword was angry and extremely shocked. Everything was beyond its expectations. First, there was a list of gods sealed in front of the emperor's coffin, which blocked its attack and even slightly defeated it in the duel. Then, there was another inexplicable imperial weapon that flew out, transformed into a woman, and flew it away. It's just a weapon, why did it turn into its true form and possess such majestic power? The immortal heavenly sword was shocked and angry. Everything was out of its control. This world seemed to be no longer the world it knew. It also lost its former supreme status. It was hit one after another, which he couldn't accept. Our Lord is supreme, everlasting and everlasting. The immortal heavenly sword trembled, unwilling to be defeated, and wanted to fight against the odds, turn things around, and change everything. But the ruthless emperor transformed from the sky-swallowing magic jar seemed not to give it this chance at all. White clothes moved. Black hair danced, the ruthless emperor moved, his body was like flowing light, and his speed was extremely fast, as if he wanted to reverse time. She stepped out with one step, her clothes fluttering, appeared suddenly, descended in front of the immortal sword, and then stretched out. He took out a finger as white as jade and pointed it on the blade, and the clanging sound moved the 9 heavens. Roar! A human-like roar came from the heavenly sword, which was terrifying. What's even more unbelievable is that on the blade made of 5-color fairy gold, where the Empress jade finger touches, there are cracks spreading out, which is shocking. The Empress in white was majestic and majestic for eternity. With just one finger, she caused the blade of the immortal heavenly sword to split, causing considerable trauma. It's not a weapon, but it looks like a living emperor. It's so weird. The immortal heavenly sword was shocked. The blade of the sword was flowing and escaping into the universe. It was retreating. The ruthless emperor transformed from the sky-swallowing devil jar was really too weird and weird. It was beyond the immortal heavenly sword's understanding. It made it confused. There is no certainty of a duel with it. During this process, the cracked place on the immortal heavenly sword's blade was spewing red clouds outwards, and it quickly restored itself at a speed visible to the naked eye, and soon returned to its undamaged state. It's the power of Phoenix blood red gold. An ancient strong man spoke and revealed the secret of the rapid recovery of the immortal heavenly sword. The immortal heavenly sword is made of 5 kinds of extremely immortal materials, among which is Phoenix blood red gold. And this Phoenix blood red gold possesses some of the characteristics of the immortal Phoenix bird. Can be reborn from nirvana and restore damage in the shortest time. This is a supreme source of truth. The immortal sword made of 5 kinds of immortal materials is indeed extraordinary. If it continues to be smelted, it may be almost the same as the legendary immortal weapon. The ancient ancestor king sighed with emotion, but at the same time he was silent. The stronger the immortal heavenly sword, the more extraordinary and invincible it will be. After all, even such a powerful immortal heavenly sword will be defeated by the heavenly swallowing magic jar. The hand of the heavenly demon jar was defeated so quickly and fled far away from the wilderness of the universe. But thinking about it, all the spirits seemed to be relieved. Although the immortal heavenly sword is extraordinary, the heaven-swallowing demon jar is even more so. Sacrifice with the peerless Empress's emperor body, it can be said that it is unprecedented and unprecedented. Together with the ruthless emperor, it shocked the ancient supreme beings in the restricted areas, causing the ancient supremes to suffer a lot. Although the immortal heavenly sword is powerful, it is just a divine weapon of the extreme created by the immortal emperor. In the final analysis, it does not break away from the category of the extreme and becomes an immortal weapon. Therefore, it does not seem incomprehensible that it was defeated by the sky-swallowing magic jar. But even so, many ancient tribes, the living beings, are still a little sad. The reason is that the appearance of the immortal emperor can overwhelm the supreme beings of the human race, but it is unimaginable that it will have such a result. Although the real immortal emperor did not take action, he just slashed for him with a heavenly sword. However, he was successively inferior to the list of gods and the sky-swallowing magic jar, which finally made the immortal emperor lose a bit of face. The heavenly sword escaped far away, and escaped into the wilderness of the universe. But the white-clothed empress transformed by the sky-swallowing magic jar did not seem to pursue it. Meaning, the body gradually became hazy, turned into the shape of the sky-swallowing magic jar again, turned into a stream of light, dissipated in the sky, and returned to the ancient restricted area. The heavenly sword escaped far away, the magic jar left, and was sealed by the immortal emperor. The conferred gods list with the coffin head removed also returned to peace again. Immediately afterwards, the heaven and earth rumbled, and the conferred gods list was glowing, enveloping the place where the 10,000-foot-long jade platform was, and carrying the coffin of the immortal emperor together, escaped into the endless in the turbulent flow of space. Everything ended, and silence returned to heaven and earth. But for the ancient tribes, today is destined to be an extremely special day. From today on, they know the existence of the immortal emperor. Moreover, the immortal emperor remains until now. He is still alive, and the heavenly sword remains in the world. Although the immortal heavenly sword has a slight disadvantage in the battle with the conferred god list and the sky-swallowing devil jar, this does not affect the supreme majesty of the immortal emperor. After all, this is a living legend of all races. Everything ends. Qin Mu stood in the forbidden area of the sky and watched everything indifferently. The secret realm ended, and his shock points now reached 350 million. 350 million shock points, that's almost enough. Qin Mu silently made some calculations. The shock points he now possesses should be able to support him in arranging the next secret realm. Qin Mu has been imagining this secret realm for a long time, and it is closely related to the coming world. but more importantly, this will be a super large secret realm that covers the entire universe and includes all the creatures in the universe. Of course, it is a secret realm rather than a trial ground arranged by Qin Mu. Good. He promoted the advent of the great world, attracting powerful men and geniuses from all races to come to the world. Next, it is the time of harvest. Qin Mu will use the secret realm to include all the thousands of geniuses in the universe. Go in and use this to harvest a wave of shocking points. The chess pieces are all ready, and now it's time to place all the chess pieces on the chessboard. The great age has come, and the geniuses have risen together. I will lay out an imperial path for all races throughout the universe, lead all the geniuses on a journey of hegemony, compete for the opportunity to achieve the ultimate, and stir up the storm of the entire universe. Qin Mu said leisurely. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 166. In the next 3 months, Qin Mu has been hiding in the restricted area of the sky, concentrating on laying out this establishment path across the universe. Even for Qin Mu, this is an extremely huge project. There are thousands of ethnic groups in the universe. First of all, he has to lay out an ancient road in the starry sky for each of these thousands of ethnic groups. On the ancient road, there are opportunities, adventures, and of course unparalleled risks. The more powerful the race, the more opportunities and adventures there will be on the ancient road, and the danger will naturally be greater. Of course, there is also a duel and fight between the geniuses. After laying out the ancient road of all races, the geniuses who can reach the end of the ancient road of all races will gather together under the control of Qin Mu and lead to the final main trial path. There is a node between the road of 10,000 races and the road of the final trial, which unites the strong men of all races and will engage in the final struggle and fight on the road of the final trial. Only the living beings who reach the end of this final ancient road can obtain the qualifications to become enlightened in this world. There is no doubt that this is an extremely huge project. Qin Mu's previous layouts were basically small and medium-sized secret realms, and their scope was limited to the 5 regions. But now, he has to arrange a huge secret realm that spans the entire universe, and the difficulty can be imagined. However, he has now been promoted to the mortal realm. The so-called difficulty, for him, is just that it takes more time. Half a year passed by in a blink of an eye. Finally, Qin Mu finished shaping all the details on the road to Emperor becoming in the secret space. The next step is to arrange all these completed serial secret realms in the universe. Qin Mu whispered to himself, and then his figure flashed, leaving the 5 realms and heading to the cold and dark starry sky of the universe to make his own arrangements. In the universe, stars with life are very rare, and they only occupy 100 million in the entire universe. 1/10,000th of the area. More places are a cold and dead endless void, and the Death Star without any sign of life. And the location where Qin Mu laid out the imperial path of all races is in these on top of the Death Star. After all the imperial roads were laid out, he arranged teleportation formations that could span the starry sky between the imperial roads, connecting all the imperial roads together. Shaping all races, it took Qin Mu 6 months to build the Emperor's Road. It took Qin Mu another 3 months to complete the layout of the Emperor's Road. At this point, Qin Mu finally completed the layout of the Emperor's Road across the universe. Next, the road to becoming an emperor begins. Qin Mu said to himself leisurely, waving his palms, and changes occurred all over the universe. In the cold and dead universe, ancient altars fell from the sky and landed on the ancient stars of life, shaking the entire universe. Dongfang. Desolate territory. Ancient altars with a radius of thousands of feet fell from outside the territory and landed on the eastern wasteland, shocking the world. Both the ancient tribes and the human race were alarmed, because the scene was too shocking. The ancient altar fell from the sky and stood on the ground of the eastern wasteland. It exuded a mysterious and inexplicable aura, as if it was leading to another world. It is a product of millions of years ago. After some investigation, the human race and all the ancient races were shocked. These altars are made of ancient materials and have a history of more than 1,000,000 years, coming from the years when they were buried. The altars are vicissitudes and ancient, and the aura of space is fluctuating. It's like leading to an unknown world. The ancient altars that landed in different areas have different fonts engraved on them. Human race ancient road. The ancient roads of ancient tribes. Holy Spirit ancient road. The fonts inscribed on each altar are different, as if they lead to different worlds. Ancient roads of various ethnic groups. Where does it lead? People are confused. Finally, a monk carefully gathered his spirit and stepped forward, being teleported out by the ancient altar, ready to investigate. And when these monks returned in their spiritual bodies and learned everything about the world behind the altar, they were immediately plunged into unprecedented shock. What leads behind the altar is an ancient star in the universe, and there is an ancient city among them. It is the first city on the human race's trial road. There is a stone monument standing in front of the ancient city, which explains everything. These ancient altars lead to ancient trials of all races. The ancient road of trials for all races, only the geniuses of each race can set foot on it. There are endless opportunities on the ancient road, and many geniuses compete and fight with each other on the ancient road. In the end, the geniuses of all races gather together to embark on the final ancient road of trials. The geniuses who can reach the end on this ancient road of trials will have the qualifications to attain enlightenment in this world. This is the road to becoming an emperor millions of years ago. Only in the age of great struggle will it manifest, come to the human world, select the geniuses in the universe, and compete for the qualifications to become enlightened. The creatures of all races who learned the truth couldn't help but fell into unprecedented shock. Is there really such a road in the universe? Heroes from all races gathered together, and hundreds of teams competed. In the end, only one person stood out, stepping on the blood and success. Heaps of bones, standing on the top of the universe, becoming the enlightened ones in this life, overlooking the eternal universe, and controlling the ups and downs of the world. All souls were shocked and felt extremely unreal. But when they really stepped into the ancient altar and entered behind it after exploring the world, I had to believe it all. Behind the altar, there is a magnificent world, which leads far into the universe. Creation and murderous intent coexist and are interlocked, spanning the universe. Chindi Road. Yelingxiu stood in front of the ancient altar leading to the ancient trial road of the human race, muttering to herself, with a solemn look on her pretty face. The ancient altar, which has never been manifested in the world, descended from the sky and came to this world. Is this really a coincidence? What's more, secret realms millions of years ago have appeared in various places in the previous 5 realms, which is even more unusual. Yelingxiu had a vague feeling in her heart. It's as if there is always a big hand behind the scenes, pushing and arranging everything. This universe, all living beings and spirits in the universe are just pawns on his chessboard. This was just Yelingxiu's guess. She didn't have any evidence, but she felt that this was the real truth. Who is driving everything behind this? Is he the ruthless emperor in the ancient restricted area? Or the Lord of God in the forbidden area of God? Or is it other ancient existence? Yelingxiu couldn't guess at all. But she could vaguely feel that she was also a pawn in this big game. Looking at the ancient altar in front of her that led to the ancient trial road of the human race, Yelingxiu's eyes gradually became firmer. If there is really someone behind all this, then the other person's strength and realm are definitely beyond her imagination. Since there is no way to break free from the chessboard, you must have the awareness to be a good chess piece. As long as she keeps getting stronger, Yelingxiu believes that sooner or later, she will be able to know the truth of all this. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 167. The Imperial Road of 10,000 Races opens, and all the creatures on all the ancient life stars in the universe are boiling. In fact, the universe is vast, and the existing ancient stars of life are naturally not located in one of the 5 domains. And Qin has laid out imperial paths on all ancient life stars, including the entire universe in his chess game. After knowing where the ancient altar leads, almost all the geniuses and evildoers on the ancient planet of life set out and stepped into the altar to take this legendary imperial road. There are even many souls who still have hope and feel that they are expected to achieve enlightenment in this life, and they have embarked on the road of becoming emperor. The great times are prosperous, and the geniuses are rising together. Of all the monks in the universe, there is no one who does not hope to reach the legendary realm of the extreme. That is the dream that all monks dream of. But now, the road to becoming emperor of all races a million years ago has begun. It is extremely dangerous and has endless opportunities. You can compete with the geniuses of all races and quickly improve yourself. Therefore, any ambitious monk will not let go of this opportunity. In the next few years, the entire universe was not peaceful, because news kept coming from the Imperial Road and to the major ancient stars of life, shocking the world. Yuan Gu, the son of Emperor Yuan, followed the path of the Emperor of 10,000 Races, and used Emperor Yuan's forbidden technique to kill the peerless evildoer of another ancient star of life. He was unstoppable. The bloodline of the Princess of Blood Phoenix Mountain is invincible. She has conquered all directions and has traversed an ancient road. She has defeated all the geniuses on this road and stood out from the crowd to advance triumphantly. Yalingxiu of the human race is said to have inherited the inheritance of the ruthless emperor from millions of years ago, and is able to devour the blood of kings. After entering the emperor's path, there are no constraints, defeating kings and devouring their origins. Now his body has evolved to an unimaginable level. Just in Yuan dynasty in Sigo Pass, he defeated a saint-level prodigy with one palm and became proud of all directions. Yun Ruoxi of the human race, with the blood of the holy body in this world, has a strong physique and infinite divine power. He has defeated all the geniuses from all sides with his body alone, and even defeated the invincible geniuses of the ancient tribes who have traversed the ancient road of thousands of races. Another news came that 2 shameless guys appeared on the ancient road of the human race, suspected to be one person and one dog. They set up a large formation and successfully attacked a young invincible strong man. Although they failed to kill him, they looted it. The treasures all over this invincible genius were regarded as a great humiliation in his life. All kinds of news on the road to becoming an emperor are constantly being transmitted on the major ancient stars of life. All the spirits in the universe can't help but sigh. This million-year-old road to the emperor of all races is really extraordinary, bringing together all the geniuses and evildoers in the universe. And within just a few years, they have all made rapid progress. A few years to overcome the barriers is even worth 100 years of hard work. The leaders on the road to the Emperor of the 10,000 Races have already achieved invincibility early on, and they have moved forward all the way. Walking, destroying all kinds of enemies, marching on the blood and bones of countless opponents. While sighing, all spirits are also sighing. In history, it has never been heard that there will be people who compete in the realm of the extreme. Such fierce competition and fighting is like raising a cup, and only the final genius selected can have the qualifications to become an emperor. Is this the road to becoming an emperor millions of years ago? It is full of fighting and iron-blooded, and the talents of those who stand out are the ones who stand out. The illustrious reputation is accumulated and set off by the blood and white bones of many other geniuses. And those who can go through this kind of test and have the last laugh can definitely be called the strongest among the younger generation in the entire universe. They are aiming for the ultimate goal. Even the children of the ancient emperors who have recovered in this life are sighing. Perhaps in the past, their fathers and emperors had never experienced such a fierce fighting before they became enlightened. Could it be that this is what could have happened millions of years ago? Is it the reason for overriding the existence of the extreme realm? There is no doubt that the existence of the Enlightenment millions of years ago has definitely spent a period of years full of iron blood and conquests. The battles have been fierce to the extreme, far better than today. And among all races, while the geniuses are competing to become emperors, other shocking news continues to spread in the universe. The immortal heavenly sword reappears, bringing back the immortal emperor's parent and son, and also embarks on the path of the emperor of all races. The immortal emperor's parent and child have even more blood than the children of the princes. All must be noble. And his strength and talent have been fully demonstrated. Although he is not the first batch of geniuses to set foot on the road of emperor of all races, the Prince of Heaven has swept an ancient road in the shortest time and caught up with Prince Yun and others in front of him, shocked the universe. On the human side, exciting news also came. The void mirror, which had been silent for a long time, vibrated, and actually brought back from the universe a divine source in which a human genius was sealed. He was also thrown into the imperial path of 10,000 races. It was a man named Gzi who was of medium height, ordinary appearance, silent and seldom spoken. He looked very ordinary and there was nothing surprising at all. But his strength was it is unfathomable and difficult to fathom. He even opened an imperial path faster than the heavenly prince. In the process, he defeated an ancient emperor's son and caused a sensation in the entire universe. Over the past few years, the prince's children have been the great progress of the emperors of all races has created a series of legends. No one has met each other, and no one has been defeated. But now, the first defeated ancient emperor's bloodline has appeared. And it is not as Wanling expected. Like that, he was defeated at the hands of other ancient emperor bloodlines, but at the hands of a young strong man from the human race who had never shown any prestige before. This is really beyond the expectations of all living beings. And that statue looks like a very ordinary man, but with unfathomable talent and strength, he attracted the attention of almost the entire universe. Not long after, the origin of this young man was known to all beings. As for his origin, many people even have vague speculations in their minds. Like the heavenly prince, he was sealed in the divine source and brought here by the void mirror. He even heard that during the duel, this man frequently used the void avenue to confront the enemy. If the prediction is correct, this genius who was brought by the void mirror and has never manifested in the world before must be the bloodline left by the void emperor millions of years ago. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 168. The geniuses rise together, and the emperors compete for supremacy. This is a bright and glorious world, and almost all the geniuses have embarked on the imperial path, vying for the legendary and illusory opportunity to achieve enlightenment. In the eastern wasteland, somewhere in a human town. The town is bustling with people coming and going, bustling with people, and the atmosphere is very peaceful. Since the opening of the Imperial Road of 10,000 races a few years ago, almost all geniuses in the universe have embarked on the Imperial Road of 10,000 races. The eyes and attention of all races in the universe have naturally been placed on the Imperial Road of 10,000 races. Because of this, the torture of the human race by the ancient tribes on the ancient stars of life has become much less, and the human race has ushered in a period of peace and tranquility. Of course, this is also related to the fact that the ruins of ancient emperors appeared in various places a few years ago, shocking the ancient tribes everywhere. In the small town, Qin Mu restrained all his aura and stood leisurely. But at this moment, he was not alone. There was a little girl who looked 3 or 4 years old next to her. She had braids and was holding Qin Mu's clothes with her small hands. Her eyes were as big as black gems, which made people pity. "Big brother, my daughter wants to eat that." The little girl stretched out her hand and pointed to a stall selling candied haws on the street. her bright eyes filled with longing. "Okay, brother, go buy it for your daughter." Qin Mu smiled and bought a bunch of candied hus for the little girl next to him. Seeing the other party happily taking the candied hus and eating happily, Qin Mu couldn't help but smile on his face. This little girl is no one else. It was the ruthless Emperor Daokyo who was revealed by Qin Mu. In the past few years, Qin Mu had been sitting cross-legged in the restricted area of the sky, always paying attention to the changes on the road of the Emperor of all races. In the process, he did not stop his layout, preparing for the next secret realm. The realization of the Dao fruit of the ruthless Emperor is a part of the next plan. Over the past few years, thousands of clans have been competing for the throne, and Qin Mu's shock points have also been rising rapidly. A few years ago years have passed, and the shock points he possesses have already exceeded the 600 million mark. Spending 50 million shock points to manifest the Dao fruit of the ruthless Emperor is naturally more than enough. And the final result was also what Qin Mu had expected. Among them, the Dao fruit of the Henren Emperor is a 3 or 4-year-old little girl, which represents her childhood and past. It contains the soul and Taoism that the Henren Emperor lacks. And Qin Mu will also respond accordingly. The memory is shaped and embodied deep in the little girl's mind. Once she merges with the ruthless Emperor, the corresponding memory and soul will be completed, becoming a key part of promoting Qin Mu's plan. But now the ruthless Emperor is still there in the process of sleeping and transformation, the Dao fruit could not be compatible with it, so Qin Mu simply took the little girl with him and spent a rare leisure time with her. In order to promote his plan, Qin Mu has always before appearing in front of the little girl in the image of the Lord of Heaven, his true identity has naturally been hidden behind the scenes and has never been exposed. Although he appeared in the form of the Lord of Heaven, he restrained all his aura and looked like an ordinary person. The same, so no one noticed his extraordinary features. Seeing the little girl eating happily, Qin Mu simply turned his gaze to the 9 heavens, looking at the imperial roads of all races in the depths of the universe. Those roads, the road to becoming an emperor, is intertwined and converged, like a huge spider web, including the entire universe. Hey, at the intersection of the 2 imperial roads, Heimko unexpectedly met the emperor. This time point is interesting. A smile appeared on Qin Mu's lips. Emperor Zi, the legitimate son of the immortal emperor, and Gzi, the son of the Emperor of the Void, are naturally the products of the emergence of Qin Muju. Qin Muju showed these two people, on the one hand, to add a touch of color to the imperial road of 10,000 clans, so as to harvest more shocking points. On the other hand, it is also to prepare for the subsequent arrangements. I just didn't expect that these two people's luck would be so good, and they would meet so early on the road to the Emperor of 10,000 clans. The Imperial Road of 10,000 Tribes, a place where 2 of the Imperial Roads of 10,000 tribes meet briefly. This is a dead and desolate world, with a radius of millions of miles. The structure of the world is very unstable, there are cracks in the void everywhere, and the aura of chaos emerges. In the starry sky, the location of the Imperial Road of 10,000 races is not static, but is changing at any time. This place is the temporary intersection of 2 imperial roads of all races, connecting 2 ancient roads respectively. Prince Tian and Gzi were on these 2 ancient roads, and now they met briefly in advance because the ancient roads intersected. The Emperor, this is a very heroic figure. He was dressed in royal robes, standing on a golden chariot, his whole body was shining, his posture was proud, and he looked in all directions. In comparison, Gzi looks too ordinary, with a medium build, very ordinary appearance and momentum, no impressive momentum. She looks ordinary, and seems to have nothing extraordinary about her. At this moment, the two met each other in this temporarily generated world, looking at each other from a distance. Behind the two of them, there were many creatures from the ancient tribes and the human race. They followed behind the emperor and Heimko. They wanted to admire the emperor's grace, but they didn't expect to see the encounter between the Emperor and Heimko. When the direct bloodline of the Prince of Heaven meets the son of the Emperor of the Void, what will happen between the two? Attention grabbing. The bloodline of the human Void Emperor? Is it you who defeated an ancient prince? It looks unremarkable, but that's all. The heavenly prince stands on the golden chariot, looking down at GZI with great pride. He has enough reasons to be proud. He has the most powerful bloodline and inheritance in the world, and even the children of the ancient prince are not in his eyes. However, now, some of the children of the ancient emperor were defeated at the hands of the human emperor. This was equivalent to losing the face of the ancient clans, but he had to take care of it. What kind of emperor of the void can compare with my father? I will kill you today to promote the reputation of my immortal lineage. The emperor shouted. He stood tall, raised a magic sword in his hand, and pointed it at GZI. The powerful and majestic murderous intention shattered the nearby void. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 169. I don't know if I can rival your father, but the void lineage is never weaker than others. GZI said calmly. He has always been like this. There is no other emotion on his old-fashioned face, only eternal composure and coolness. The Emperor of Heaven is about to confront Heimzi. This is exciting news. Both of them are their own. The outstanding figures on the ancient road all broke through an imperial road in the shortest time, and came from behind, trampling many other geniuses under their feet. Moreover, the blood of both of them was too extraordinary, and one of them was the supreme blood of the ancient clans. After that, one person is the only remaining emperor's son in the human race in the world, and is the continuation of the bloodline of the ancient emperor millions of years ago. The battle between the two represents two special and extraordinary meaning, and it is not just a competition between two peerless geniuses. Simple. It even involves the competition between the Emperor of the Void and the Immortal Emperor. It is a contest between the glory of blood and a measure of the strongest genius between the ancient races and the human race. Millions of years ago, the Immortal Emperor dominated the 9 heavens, all races were supreme, and the human race was empty. How could he be compared with him? Behind the heavenly prince, an ancient half-saint sneered. Since the heavenly prince came to the world and pushed his way to the throne, many creatures from the ancient clan began to believe in and follow him. This ancient half-saint is one of them. How can you possibly know the glory and pain of the void lineage? GZI spoke, and then moved, so fast that people couldn't react at all. The void avenue fluctuated, and the space was torn apart. In the next moment, GZI's figure had appeared next to the ancient half-saint, and he raised his palm to strike. This ancient half-saint was instantly torn to pieces by this palm, and his blood spattered into the sky. So brave. The emperor was shocked and then furious. GZI's attack was so fast that even he didn't react for a moment. And when he saw that the half-saint of the ancient tribe who was following him was killed by the opponent's palm, blood spattered on the spot. The emperor couldn't help but became extremely angry. The death of an ancient half-saint was simply a trivial matter to him. But this ancient half-saint followed him, and if he died, wouldn't his face be lost? If this GZI cannot be killed on the spot today, who will be willing to follow him in the future? The lineage of void, your inheritance will be terminated in this world today. The emperor snorted coldly, his voice cold and ruthless. He came forward with a sword in hand and slashed GZI with all his strength. Phew! The sound of the phoenix's cry moved the sky, and as the emperor's sword fell down, it was like a fairy phoenix dancing in the sky, spreading its wings and splitting the sky. Facing the fierce offensive of the emperor, GZI remained silent, her eyes calm as ever. He stepped forward, the void was unobstructed, as if he had comprehended the profound meaning of the void, and in an instant he was in front of the Emperor of Heaven, and slapped his palm towards the Emperor's heavenly spirit cap. In the void, a void divine monument was formed, wrapped in the unparalleled breath of void. It fell with his palm and hit the Emperor's head. So fast. The Prince of Heaven was startled. Jitzi's speed was too fast. He had integrated the secrets of the void, and everything in the world seemed to be giving in to him. The speed was so fast that even he couldn't react in time. Facing Jitzi's actions, the attack came first, and the Emperor's son could only forcefully emphasize the direction in which the Zhan sword fell, and hit Heimko's palm that came down. Boom! The sword brushed against Gzi's palm, and the roar continued. However, the strange thing is that after the raging divine energy on the sword struck Gzi's palm, it seemed as if he had been transported to another world. All the divine energy was absorbed. Gzi's palm was intact, only slightly. After a moment's delay, he still fell towards the Emperor. Boom! The two were fighting, and the speed was as fast as lightning. Jitzi's palm fell, and the Emperor couldn't dodge. He could only barely shake his body and staggered some distance. But the palm had already fallen, and the Emperor dodged in a hurry. However, he was hit on the shoulder by Gzi's palm, and his body was staggered by the shock. He almost fell off the golden chariot, and his face turned white. The power of the void was raging in his body, making him unable to bear it. Spit out a mouthful of blood. This. The heavenly prince was at a disadvantage when he first came up. Is the void lineage of the human race really that strong? Many of the creatures watching the battle were trembling, and they never expected this result. The battle between the two was too fast, and the first round of the battle was completed in just an instant, and the result was naturally unexpected. Gzi's speed was too fast, and when she merged with the Void Avenue, it was impossible to react in the first encounter, and the Emperor suffered this loss. However, if the battle continues for a long time, it is still unclear who will win and who will lose. Some ancient creatures from the ancient tribe spoke up, but they did not think that this brief confrontation could prove that the Emperor was far inferior to Gzi. It could only prove that Gzi's Void Avenue was too weird and difficult to guard against, but if the Emperor was familiar with it, Jitzi's fighting style and the outcome of the battle are probably not yet known. However, even so, it is an unspeakable blow to the Emperor. Since his birth, he has attacked in all directions and looked at him in all directions. The glory was all over him. When had he ever suffered such a setback? Even if it was only temporary, it was unbearable for him. In his heart, this was undoubtedly an unspeakable humiliation. Only Jitzi's blood could wash it away. I will kill you here today. The Emperor roared angrily, and unleashed his true fire. He wanted to use the forbidden secret technique of the immortal Emperor to confront Heimko. But just when the two were about to start a life and death battle, this side was formed by the brief convergence of two imperial roads. The small world suddenly shook, as if it was about to collapse. The little world is going to collapse. Return quickly. If you stay here any longer, the power of world destruction will bury everything, and everyone will be hit hard when the great sage comes. Everyone was horrified and felt that the world was about to be destroyed. They quickly returned to the original route and left this world. At this critical moment of life and death, no one dared to watch the battle here. Even the Emperor had to stop reluctantly and he gave Gzi a hateful look, and then returned to the imperial road where he was. Under such circumstances, he did not dare to stay for a long time. If he stayed any longer, even he would not be able to bear the power of destroying the world. Today the shame can only be put aside for the time being. When the road of the Emperor of all races comes to an end and hundreds of ships converge, today's shame will be completely liquidated. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 170. The small world was shattered, and Prince Tian and Gzi had no choice but to give up the duel for the time being and return to their respective imperial roads. However, the results of the brief battle between the two people spread throughout the imperial path of all races in the shortest possible time. Although it was only a brief confrontation, and neither life nor death was determined, nor was victory or defeat determined, so it could not prove anything, but the scene in which Jitsi forced the emperor to retreat in panic with one palm, and even vomited blood, was a scene for all races to become emperors. The geniuses in the world talk about it. It also boosted the spirits of the talented people on the ancient road of the human race, and they couldn't help but be inspired by it. On the imperial road of 10,000 races, there are too many geniuses and monsters from all ancient races. The geniuses and geniuses from the entire universe have gathered here. There are also several parents and children of the ancient emperors who have been born to fight on the imperial road of 10,000 races. This undoubtedly brought a lot of pressure to the human race. The number of the geniuses of the human race is far inferior, and even the quality is slightly inferior. How can they compete with the ancient races? If in the final showdown, the human side would lose one after another. It is even hard to imagine how severely the many human beings on various ancient planets in the universe will be hit by that time. But now, Gzi first beheaded an ancient prince, and then defeated the emperor. This can be said to have dealt a huge blow to the ancient tribes and boosted the morale of the human race. The branch road and the emperor road are over, and next, it is time for a more brutal duel and fight. Qin Mu whispered to himself. Everything that happened on the imperial path of all races was under his eyes. At this moment, the real leaders of all races have basically walked through their own imperial path. Next, it is time for the geniuses of different races to meet and determine the next winner. Before, each race was following its own imperial path. Even if there was competition, it was not too fierce. But now, the imperial path of all races will gradually merge together under the control of Qin Mu, and hundreds of rivers will flow together. At that time, the talents of all races will gradually gather together, fight each other, and decide the real winner. Time flies, and the years are in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, another 10 years have passed. Under Qin Mu's control, thousands of imperial roads converged, turning into thousands, then hundreds, and finally only 10 main roads remained, leading to the final trial place. And in this process, countless geniuses and geniuses were eliminated, and the geniuses who met on various ancient roads all started the most brutal fights. The blood and bones of countless geniuses formed a passage leading to the final ancient road, setting off the one by one, the dazzling names kept moving forward, fighting for the final opportunity to become emperor. During this period, one by one, the truly peerless geniuses passed through ancient passes, defeated all the geniuses and strong men, and dominated the region. Respected by all four parties, the transformation from the peerless genius to the peerless powerhouse has truly been completed. The geniuses of the first and second heavens of Sendai in the past, who can walk down the imperial road without falling, basically have great achievements. Harvest, the best among them all became saints. For example, the group of peerless geniuses who were ahead of all the geniuses became the strongest among the saints, fighting with true peerless majesty. Among them, Ye Lingxiu and Yun Ruoxi, the two women, are undoubtedly the most dazzling existences in the process of the gathering of imperial roads, and they even overshadow the names of the children of the ancient princes. Especially Ye Lingxiu, since the gathering of the imperial roads of all races, she no longer has any worries in using the heaven-swallowing demonic technique, and can truly kill people. A bloody road was opened, and all the kings fell, and a bloody road to becoming an emperor was truly opened. Ye Lingxiu, Yun Ruoxi, Gzi, Tian Prince, Yuan Prince, a group of truly peerless geniuses fought bloody battles to the end and penetrated through. After walking the entire ancient road, they finally reached the end of their respective ancient roads. On the entire ancient road, they left their own glory and legends. In the end, they jumped up and went upstream to reach their respective destinations. The ancient road, the final leap, finally arrived at the true ultimate place where the imperial roads of all races converged. At this point, the ancient roads of all races have converged and unified, and all the geniuses who have been selected to the last have gathered together and walked to the imperial road of all races. The end of the road. Star in the sky. The 10 roads to becoming an emperor all appear and converge here. One after another, the peerless geniuses step out from the ancient road and land here, surrounded by endless blood and murderous intent. It is based on the blood of countless geniuses. The murderous intent contained in the bones is enough to make all living beings in the world tremble with fear. It's finally here, the final level. Human Jitsi, I will definitely end it with you this time. The Emperor of Heaven murmured to himself. In the past few years, he has never stopped looking for GZI. But in the vast universe, the two have never met, and he can only suppress the idea of revenge for the time being. In the bottom of my heart. Now that the opportunity has finally come, all the imperial roads come together, and GZI will naturally come here. Finally, on the ancient road, there is a majestic pass. When all the geniuses on the 10 ancient roads arrived, the stars in the sky shook, and an ancient road appeared, leading to the final place. At the end of the ancient road, there was a majestic pass, blocking the path of all the geniuses. It was an ancient. The Xiongguan Pass is majestic and majestic, standing like an ancient magic mountain. The city is surrounded by chaotic energy, and time cannot erase its traces. What shocked all the geniuses present is that in front of the Xiongguan Pass, there are ancient monuments standing, magnificent and majestic to the extreme, towering into the nebula, like pillars supporting the sky, standing in front of this ancient grand pass. Every sky monument is a piece of history, with the energy of eternal vicissitudes flowing. This is the ruthless emperor, she once left her name here. Ya Lingxia was shocked. She saw a grimace mark engraved on one of the heavenly monuments. Her smile was filled with tears. It was celestial and refined, and the aura of the ruthless emperor was engraved on it. The great emperor Wuxi also left his name here. Yunruoxi was also shocked. On an ancient monument, she saw a figure with his back to all living beings. Above his head, an ancient bell of chaos suppressed the past and present, shining for eternity. Could it be said that millions of years ago, all the enlightened people left their traces here? Everyone looked at the ancient celestial monuments standing one after another in front of them and couldn't help but hold their breath. There were too many celestial monuments, dozens of them. And on each celestial monument, there were incomparable and extraordinary marks engraved on it. On the top, it represents a glorious period of time and immortal history, all of which are suspected to be left by the existence of the extreme millions of years ago. In front of the ancient imperial pass, traces of the emperor and the emperor millions of years ago appear. Look at that face. The majestic and extremely majestic ancient sky monument made the geniuses hold their breath. It was a piece of living history, a period of glorious and prosperous years, and now, it was all displayed in front of them.